There are some conversations that feel like a normal interview, and then there are conversations that feel like you stepped through a hidden door. Today is the second kind. My guest is Jordan Alexandra Blizzard Planit, creator of Planit Butter, a world made out of peanut butter, built to normalize nonconventionality through a philosophy she calls iNTUCENTRiCiSM. And listen, this is not quirky for quirky's sake. This is precision wrapped in play. Jordan has this rare ability to bend language just enough so that your mind can't fall asleep. She does it on purpose. She wants you to pause. She wants you to think. She wants you to feel the edges of your own assumptions and then loosen them. In this episode, we go into the peanut butter dimension. Yes, that is real in this conversation. And we also go somewhere more personal. We talk about what it means to build a world and then invite people into it. Then send them back to their own world with more freedom than they came with. We talk about self-friendship, not as a cute idea, but as a lived practice. We talk about boundaries, confidence, alignment, and the collaboration between ego and intuition. And we land on one of my favorite made-up words I've ever heard, presitude, being present through thankfulness. So here is my invitation before we begin. Don't try to get her world. Let her world help you notice yours. If Planit Butter is a world made of peanut butter, what is your world made of? Let's get into it. Jordan Alexandra Blizzard Planit. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ryan.
Who is Jordan and what is her mission?
Who is Jordan? Jordan is my physical being on this beautiful earth as the human that I am. My mission is Planit Butter, which is my world, which is really an extension of my essence. And my human form is kind of just the version of the physical thing that needs to be sharing Planit Butter. And the mission is essentially to normalize non-conventionality through a philosophy that I've created called iNTUCENTRiCiSM.
Yeah, interesting stuff there. And one of the things that I was having a conversation with my partner just the other day. We were watching a Tom Waits music videos. Are you familiar with Tom Waits at all?
Not really.
Okay, so he's this he's described as sort of an eccentric musician, right? And I said to her, I said, you know what it is? You get sucked into this guy's world. He's just the same character in between songs. He's this sort of, cigarette smoking, old, white guy looking sort of, he actually, part of his act is sort of, he's like, hey, I'm like a creepy guy who talks like this and smokes cigarettes. And he essentially comes across like this beautiful song. And I was like, you're sucked into his world. Like there's only, and I see something similar, and it's not fair to say to you, you don't even know Tom Waits, but see something similar with what you said. And you said, Planit Butter is everything. And so I want to start here, if it's all right. You talk about the peanut butter dimension.
Yes.
First of all, how'd you fall in love with peanut butter?
I don't know. I was born that way. I genuinely just always loved peanut butter straight out of the jar since I was a little baby. And my mom, every day for lunch, like literally through high school, I was eating peanut butter crackers, like peanut butter and Ritz crackers every single day. And I just love it so much. And my last name is actually Planit. So then I just merged literally what I always say, I fused my love for my existence and peanut butter and made Planit Butter. It's like, truly, it is that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's incredible. It's always been a thing. So what is the peanut butter dimension and how did you come to describe it this way?
Sure. So I suppose because I really just playfully wrote to myself one day in my journal, Planit Butter. And I just thought it was funny because it sounded like peanut butter, but it's my last name instead of peanut. And then I was like, oh, it just snowballed. It literally just became, oh, this is a world made out of peanut butter. That's what Planit Butter is. So then I kept playing with that. It's really that simple. And so when I was starting to explain what Planit Butter is, for a long time, I'll say, oh, it is a world made out of peanut butter, but it's more than that. So then it became the peanut butter dimension of art and philosophy because Planit Butter, this world that's made out of peanut butter, is all encompassing of my essence that I share of my philosophy of iNTUCENTRiCiSM through this world, through mixed media. The philosophy is the core, and then the art is how I share the philosophy. And then the peanut butter is just where it started, my love, my world that's made of it. And the idea is for you to visit Planit Butter so that you can build your world, leveraging my philosophy but visit Planit Butter and then leave to your world, whatever your world is made of and however you want to define it and describe it. So the dimension is just, I just found it a more simple yet expansive way to convey, I'm taking this philosophy and I'm sharing it through my art. And it takes place on this world that's made out of peanut butter.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't know how else to simplify it, because I'm like, these are the three, those are the just, it's exactly what it is. It really, it just is.
It's what it does is it sort of takes, like you could just say, yeah, it's the way I perceive reality. It's my world. And I think there's something about people kind of stepping in here for a moment, but there's something much more enticing, much more creative, much more about talking about it in these terms, right? I mean, it just is, it helps bring the richness that's there. You can't just say, hey, my world is, hey, just here's what I'm thinking about. That's not as inviting. There's something about peanut butter, and, depending on how you feel about peanut butter, there's some controversy built in there.
Totally. But that's okay, because it's my world. That's the point. It's like, my world's not, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but the philosophy is for you. And the thing is, I bring I say my world. I appreciate what you're saying in terms of the description. Like, it's totally not as enticing to just simplify it. Oh, this is my perspective. Because I've just expanded and elaborated and dug in so much to what that perspective is and conceptualized it in a way for other people to reflect on and apply to their life, that it's not just my perspective. It's, here are actionable tools for you to use in your daily life. But my world part, it's this metaphysical world because of the art. So part of the art is I've literally brought this peanut butter world to life. I make art that has the peanut butter volcanoes and peanut butter oceans. So I've layered each part of this quote unquote dimension into itself so that the peanut butter world actually exists in its own right. And the philosophy is just what's threaded through that. So yeah, maybe it wouldn't be as enticing, but to say it as that perspective, but it's also because I've kind of ensured there's truth to some sort of tangible aspects to quote unquote my world. So typically when I talk about it, I just tell people it's immersive. You should just go visit and send them to my website, because it's like, once you go in the world, then you'll have a better feel, a better time. You'll explore at your leisure and see what resonates with you, what doesn't. And then the peanut butter will make a little bit more sense, and all these other things will make a little bit more sense, and you'll take from it what you will. But anyway.
Yeah, I encourage the listener to have sort of the same thought that I am. And that is, wow, if you're talking about the peanut butter dimension and that's your world, what is my world? Right?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of an invitation that's sort of implied in that. So, you've named your philosophy iNTUCENTRiCiSM. Did I say it right? Okay. And so this is the collaboration between ego and intuition. So help me understand at a deeper level what this means and how it shows up in life and how it might help other people.
Well, first, I actually would love to know what you would name your world.
I don't know. Let me see if I can come up with it by the end of the show.
Yeah, let's see. That's my favorite thing to ask people.
When you talk about this philosophy of iNTUCENTRiCiSM, what does that mean?
It is the collaboration between the ego and our intuition. So it's many things, and I apply it to a variety of things through my work. So to simplify it to the best of my ability for our conversation, I define iNTUCENTRiCiSM as the development and expression of a healthy ego, and it's in collaboration with our intuition. Now, the way of iNTUCENTRiCiSM is being intucentric. So being intucentric is essentially the practice of the philosophy. So this is where it applies to you in your life. It's your intucentric way, which is you leading your life with your intuition through the prioritization of self-control and self-expression. And the result of that is in the best interest of all. So where I further break this down is into three core concepts. There's the three core methods, which I recognize as boundaries, confidence, alignment. So when we respect our boundaries, we cultivate confidence, which sustains or reconnects us with our alignment. Then, and our alignment I'll further define as, again, a variety of things, but at its core, I'll say it's our role in the universe. So we take those three core methods and we layer them with self-friendship, which is the second core concept. which I define as the commitment to embracing, understanding, and enjoying ourselves. Then we take that with the third concept, which I playfully call the Planit Butter jet ring of consciousness, which is essentially a cycle for decision making. That is intuition as the first step in the cycle, sensations as the second step, action as the third step, and then playfully, but very sincerely, sensations again. So that cycle, intuition, sensations, action, sensations again. Those three concepts are intertwined, cyclical, and nonlinear, but they happen simultaneously. And I've hyperanalyzed myself to be able to recognize them and then break them down and apply them for you guys in my new book, iNTUCENTRiC. So in that chapter book, I break down those three concepts and I apply them to a variety of different perspectives, phrases, concepts, perspectives. Did I say that? And questions for the reader to then take with them into their life in this very objective way so that they can see how they are applied, because it's not this concept, then this concept, then this concept. Each one informs one another and it's cyclical, nonlinear. It is complex, but it's kind of like what you put in, you get out. So that's how it helps, is through those three core concepts and however you choose to really dig into yourself.
I mean, it's well thought out, and it's something that it seems like you've applied in your own life to help you live. I don't know, maybe you can answer that question.
I like to say that it's being your iNTUCENTRiC way is your path to your ideal self.
Okay.
The more you dig, the closer you get.
Putting that together, this sort of seems to have come from a way where you are trying to really blaze a path to find your authentic self in a way.
No, I would say I actually, and forgive me for jumping with the no, because I very much so have, Planit Butter is so, it was like, I've been this way. So actually just yesterday, I was in a store and somebody was asking me some questions. We just ended up having a really great conversation. And the person asked me, what do you study to inform your work? And I said, myself, because I literally use myself as like I'm the specimen for Planit Butter for being iNTUCENTRiC. So I have been this way and I've only strengthened it, but I've genuinely, my strongest skill has always been knowing myself, being myself. And I've recognized that's my value add to society, because that's not common. It's mainstream now, thankfully, but that's literally always been my truth. I've never struggled with that ever. And that's why my first book with Planit Butter was primarily focused on, well, it's interesting because I was realizing this the other day. That first book is more of it's a 500 word, 40 pages of art adventure that embodies those three core methods. But it actually, and I didn't realize it when I wrote it because I didn't study that depth of myself yet. But when I wrote it, it was intentionally the concept of self-friendship, which was also the embodiment of the three core methods: boundaries, confidence, and alignment. And then I didn't realize that I was writing this, but I also was writing in the cycle for decision making within that. But again, I wasn't consciously there yet, but I was doing it and it was coming through me, but I didn't conceptualize it yet. So my strength has always been that concept really of self-friendship. To simplify it, I've always loved spending time with myself. I've always been comfortable with myself. I've always gone places on my own. I've always just loved my own company and very absurdly confident with myself. And so I'm like, that's what I need to share with society, because I'm doing it, I'm being it, and now I can share it in a way that can help others reach and experience that sensation as well and continue to inform their ideal self. So while I'm also obviously always working towards my ideal self, the core started with, that's actually been my strength, was comfort with myself, knowing of myself, rather than finding it and then doing this. It was like, no, that's my strength. Let's start with my strength.
What do you think holds people back from having this sort of natural aptitude that you have?
To be honest, I don't feel like that's my positioning to really judge, I want to say, because I think it's because fundamentally it's just whatever your societal conditioning is. Like that's my belief. It's whatever, anywhere. I travel the world full time with Planit Butter. I record the show in all different ridiculous locations. Like part of my iNTUCENTRiC way is traveling this earth. And so I've immersed in a variety of different cultures, and any type of societal conditioning is societal conditioning. So I'll refer to it as Earth Society. Planit Butter is sharing like the philosophy through Earth Society to reference humans as a whole rather than segmenting culturally who's what or why people are this way, or because otherwise it gets caught up into, I find we succumb to the usual topics of, media influence, which encompasses everything from entertainment to politics to blah, 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 like everything like that. And that becomes more of an American conversation or a Western conversation for that matter. And so I don't feel like it's mine to say why that happened. So, but simply it's, I obviously I ended up with a lot to say, but it's fundamentally, I would just say it's societal, whatever your societal conditioning is.
Yeah. So I guess and I don't mean to drive this point home. I certainly don't want to take it to those places that you were talking about. This is not about, I'm just curious about, you talk about your world, your societal conditioning. Is there conditioning you had to overcome, or was it just, you said, I've always been this way.
Yeah.
I just wonder what's there, I guess.
Totally. So I would say everybody has their unique societal conditioning, and that balance of ego and intuition is through Planit Butter's lens. The ego is a sense of self. So it's our luxury. It's what makes us different from all other species on Earth is our ability to have this awareness, this sense of self. And that is what actually even informs our ability to be aware of our intuition, whereas other species just act by intuition, but they don't have that sense of self to leverage, to balance that out. So with societal conditioning, for me, I don't believe or see it as overcoming anything. I don't think anybody needs to overcome their societal conditioning. I think we all can strengthen ourselves and become closer to our ideal selves by leveraging whatever societal conditioning we have. So for me, I'll say it's taking I honestly, I'd rather just apply it. So it's like, I took what I like from my upbringing, from my societal conditioning, and whatever I don't like, meaning whatever, to reflect on the 3 core methods, we start with boundaries. So whatever respects my boundaries from my societal conditioning that resonates with me, I keep and I integrate. Whatever from my upbringing doesn't respect my boundaries and doesn't feel right to me, it doesn't resonate, just something feels off. And there doesn't need to be a reason why. That's where our intuition comes in. It doesn't need to make sense. It is irrational. So we can't help our societal conditioning. We are fortunate for whatever reason. We were born wherever we were meant to be born. We were raised by whoever we were meant to be raised. And whatever resonates with us, we keep. And whatever doesn't, we transcend. But either way, it's leveraged to our ideal self, because we can't transcend what we don't face. So it's not disregarding it. It's not pretending it doesn't exist. It's none of those types of things. It's not, I'll even perspective dance in my book. I don't say shadows. I turn it into sunlight. So there's a chapter called shadows and it's crossed out and it's called sunlight. So it's something that's just asking for a little bit of more life into it. Something that needs to, that wants more life and sunlight. And then you can only transcend what you acknowledge. So it's not so much overcoming as it is leveraging and feeling into what resonates. And you know what resonates with you based on clarifying and respecting your boundaries, which you figure out through your own self-reflection and self-connection.
Yeah, I sort of hear, it's funny because I steered the conversation perhaps outward. And what I really hear is you're talking about a radical embrace of your own individuality, uniqueness, and authenticity, and a valuing of your own experience, to which, and I think that's where we talk about the term like societal standards or whatever. That sort of causes us to doubt our own experience in a way. And you're just saying, it's just embrace that. Take what works, take what aligns, what doesn't. But it's not about overcoming anything external. It's kind of about coming inside and radically embracing that. Would you say that's sort of what you're saying?
Totally. And I definitely steered it outwards just because I do hope that it can, I like to make it more resonant in an objective way to the best of my ability. But you definitely nailed it there. And I would say, I don't know, I feel like there was something, and maybe because I suppose overcoming there's still truth to it, but it's the perspective. I think that's something I want to drive home. We use the phrase on Planit Butter, perspective dancing, to playfully allude to this idea of creating new viewpoints to observe whatever context you're experiencing, to turn it into an empowering and a relentlessly optimistic way of looking at your world. So while it's true, yes, you are overcoming whatever you need to overcome. I'm just offering to not view it as overcoming, because it can, if we view things as leverage and we perspective dance it into a positive and empowering thing, it makes it that much easier in a sense to overcome, or it makes it more fun, because it's fun to feel empowered rather than, oh, I have to overcome it, which makes it feel like overwhelming and daunting and intimidating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Overcoming sounds like, struggle. It sounds like I have to overcome something. But perspective dancing, which overlaps in the same thing, is more fun. It's more like, I'm going to look at this differently. It's like
I like hearing other people say perspective dancing. Thanks for using it.
Perspective dancing. So you have this new book called iNTUCENTRiC, Becoming a New Breed of Human Potential. And I want to highlight one of the things that I've seen you do in your work, and it is your use of language. When you describe or title your creations, you use phrasing or spelling, in this case, that it doesn't allow your mind to rest. And here's what I mean. In this case, it makes sense if you said becoming a new breed of human. My mind sort of rests there, but then it says potential. And it doesn't allow, it's like a new breed of human potential. And like, I had to say it to myself a couple of times. And I wondered, well, I don't know if I want to, there's like a really direct question here. It's like,
please.
Where are you directing the reader?
Say that again. Where am I directing the reader?
Yeah, with that title.
I'm directing them into themselves, into curiosity of I want you to take that beat. I'm not here to spoon feed you the obvious, and it gets worse in the best way. When you read the book, I make up words and phrases too. iNTUCENTRiC. I made that up. Do you understand? So it's like, you are here to think. When you're visiting Planit Butter, you are here to think.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you tools and actionable items and ways to internalize and reflect, but you are on Planit Butter to think. So yes, with that title, I love to hear that because I wanted to include, I liked the word potential because I'm like, we don't stop there. We stop at our potential, which is we're ever reaching for it. It's aspirational. Yeah. It's not something that you attain and move on. Like it's work. It's work. It's work. It's work. It's work. That's why being iNTUCENTRiC is a practice. It's not you do this and then off I say off you go a lot, but it's like you're not done, right? You're not done. You're never done.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. I'm glad that it made you stop and think. And it's meant to bend the English language.
Yeah.
Like I leverage the English language. Like talk about overcoming. I overcame the English language and leveraged it to inform my quote unquote world so that I could further provide value to society through my perspective because I found English language to be limiting.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things about your work that I noticed is that we understand the world through language, whether we sort of realize it or not. And you sort of picking apart words like, as I looked at some of your videos and your work online, I'm looking up words and I'm like, oh, she made this one up too. Like I literally had that experience. I thought you might like that. But I just think about like it was when I read that, I said, becoming a new breed of human potential, I'm like just stuck there on that. And I guess you sort of answered this question, but you also described the book as a sculpture in book form. So yes. With this word usage, and description, what do these things suggest to the reader about what they might find in the book?
Well, may I first ask you when you stumbled on becoming a new breed of human potential, when you had that moment or a few moments, you took yourself and you're like, okay, I got becoming a new breed of human and then potential. Can I ask you what your thought process is there or was there?
Well, yeah, because I thought,
how did you rationalize it?
Because I was like, wait a second, it feels like it's stretching me, but it makes sense. A new breed of human potential. It just is, so it kind of left me in that limbo of curiosity and not an uncertainty about what it was, right? It was like, wait, it makes sense, but why am I saying it over and over again to myself, right? A new breed of human potential. It makes sense, but feels like it should stop at human. So I sort of leaned into the questioning that I was having with that.
That's
I think
cool.
that was my experience.
Thank you for indulging me. Okay, cool. I just love hearing people's experiences. So now to answer your question, it's a sculpture in book form because I have so meticulously crafted this book. I quite literally designed it to be read forwards, backwards, or what I playfully say and use in my work a lot, one random page at a time. So it's your book for you to do what you want with it at your fingertips. So having designed it so intentionally, the next layer of that is that every page is very colorful. Each chapter has its own individual gradient scheme of color as the background. I use a font that looks like handwriting. So it's like the whole book is basically my love note to you. And furthermore, I also have my digital art compositions that I've sporadically placed where I felt called to place throughout the book. And those art compositions are the ones that they bring that peanut butter world to life. So and that art is made by me as well. So it's a mix of my own original international photography, hand drawings, the mascot of the world, Blissy. She's a disco ball of self-reflection. She was designed by me, but hand drawn by Diana Ray Polis. She's an incredible artist. And I layered those elements with AI as well. And then I make these compositions and just bring the world to life. And the same characters from my first book, where it's a playful story, are found in the art in this book, even though this is entirely a chapter book and used for you and your life and your tools and your perspective. So, and then on top of that, then there's also the actual wording layout. I've handcrafted that as well so that each page, the font sizes change as well because I'm emphasizing certain sentences, certain lines, certain words. And each page is also designed to be one standalone page. So it's like one cohesive thought or two, whatever it is, however many, it's cohesive per page and it's cohesive collectively.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a sculpture in book form. The written pages are sculpted. The art pages are sculpted. The color gradients sculpted. And I literally even handmade the headers. Like there is no part of this book that was not handmade.
Yeah. What I'm curious about now is as I was exploring your work, there's an emotional resonance that I'm not sure I have the words for. And so I compared it to sort of my own experience. And when I was young, it's funny because it wasn't even in the same sort of genre of I was writing when I was this is like 30 years ago, I was writing like poetry and things like that. And it was very serious, right? But I put it all together in sort of this book that I shared with people that were close to me. And really what I called them to do was sort of, hey, have your own experience with this. This is sort of mine. And then I had a similar emotional resonance when I was looking at your work here. And then I just thought about, I'm like, well, how do I do this in real life? And I would say things like, as a supervisor in like corporate America, people would, I was often described as, wow, you're so, and then fill in the blank. And I would often reply to that, like very seriously. I'd be like, yeah, I used to be a cartoon character. And they'd just be, and I'm like, for whatever reason, I just noticed that these were the thoughts that were coming up in this. And I was like, there was something I was trying to invite them to consider about what they were saying.
So cool. Tell me more. So I need to know more. The cartoon. Explain yourself. This is amazing.
What I'm trying to put my hands on here is I don't know if there's really words for it, but there is something about both offered like in both the case of sharing that goofy reply of saying, yeah, I used to be a cartoon, because they'd be like, how do you react to a boss who says that, who they think you're being so whatever it was? I would just, and oftentimes they might be like, you're so loud, or you're so, goofy, or you're so whatever it was. Sometimes it might be like, you're so strict. And I was like, well, yeah, I used to be a cartoon. What? I was just trying to sort of rattle where they were locked in with their perspectives, perhaps. And the same thing with like, and I think that's part of what you're doing in a way is you're saying, hey, your world, like, do some perspective dancing is kind of what I'm hearing here. Right. And I'm not exactly sure what, if I was pointing them in a different direction. I just was saying, hey, hey, think about this differently. And there's an emotional energy that comes from that.
That's
I don't know.
beautiful. That's exactly what it sounds like you were doing. It's you were bringing your multi-dimensions to what they were defining as one dimension. You're this, they're saying, right? And you're saying you diffused it by making it playful, which I love. And it does invite that new perspective subtly. It's so subtly, but that's, I think, the strongest, right? Because you weren't being the boss or the superior, whatever it might be, to telling them, I'm not this, or look at me this way. You diffused it playfully, truly. And I think that's really cool because that automatically shows them new perspective. And I think that's really cool. And it's the sentiment that I'm gauging is the multidimensional aspects of every person. And that's something with Planit Butter as well, where my episode this week of the show From My Planet to Yours. So I just did the episode where it's titled It's Your Turn, because this week, all that was landing with me was like, wow, it's their turn. It's your turn. It's your turn. It's your turn. And just over and over. But I say that because I find that a lot of the time people quote unquote get Planit Butter. Planit Butter is not here to get. It's here for you to leverage. So Planit Butter is my world. You never need to understand the multi-dimensions of Planit Butter. What you can do is better understand yourself, and naturally you would better understand Planit Butter. But it's not about understanding Planit Butter. People want to get it, but it's like, you don't need to get it. You need to work on yourself. Stop focusing on me and understanding Planit Butter as a business, and understand that it's not a traditional business. You can't box it in, and you should probably immerse a little bit more to understanding yourself through what I'm offering, rather than trying to understand me and my non-conventionality.
Yeah.
With what is it's and so with I piggyback because of the multidimensional aspects. It's breaking that linear thinking that society has. It's so limiting. Nothing is linear. Nothing is linear. Society works so hard to create these structures I might be making this up, of linearity, where it's like, you're the boss, you're being strict, and so you must be like this, and there's like box. And it's like, you diffuse that, and I'm diffusing that. And I believe everybody is multidimensional and has the capacity to diffuse that type of linear thinking and apply the range of concepts and the types of perspective dancing into their world to slowly, if they're willing, break that mental architecture of confining things to this linear perspective, because it frees them from themselves and from society. And that's where it slowly becomes that new breed of human potential, because the potential is ever present, and the perspective dancing will be dancing forever. Yeah. But it's available to us, and everybody is multidimensional. Everybody is, and understanding that those multidimensional layers are equally not linear.
I think, well, first of all, thank you for you gave me some clarity on that, and I appreciate that. And I think you really hit it you really nailed it. I think when you said that it's almost like you said, there's a multi-dimensional world that I get this whole life to sort of explore within me. And in those celebrations, whether it be a poetry book or saying something ridiculous as a boss, like, I used to be a cartoon, you're just inviting people to that. It's just a subtle invitation, right? And I think that's important, because I think what I'm trying to put my finger on is this sort of, it's a positive emotional resonance that comes from it, is that, and it really, if I had to put words on it, it's just like a feeling like, yeah, it's okay to be you in your exploration.
I also really want to highlight and mirror back to you. I love that you don't have words to put to it, because that's really helpful in the context of Planit Butter. Anybody who mutually doesn't really have words, because hearing that, it's like your experience, if I'm understanding, you're experiencing that little mystical, which is what I would say, it's like the universe, like our intuition, which is our connection to the universe. So while your intuition might not, it's guiding us at every moment, and if you choose to lead with it, but I feel like in that moment of whatever I was saying that sparked that memory for you, which brought you to something that you can't quite describe, but was entirely a perfect example of obviously what we're talking about in that multidimensional nature, and you offering that perspective dancing without knowing it, that feeling that you experienced. I almost want you to dig a little bit more, because it is hard to put words to it. It's like, if I may put this on you, can you dig a little bit more into describing that feeling of that memory as whatever I was saying at whatever point I was saying it, that surfaced for you? Can you attempt to?
Yeah. It's this realization that whatever it was that you were trying to do, it was actually share this. And you thought it had to be this narrow path. I don't know if I have another word besides this multi-dimensional exploration that you're on within yourself. I see it as a gift.
Thank you. I meant like your personal feeling of like the moment for you with the people that you were working with. Like, what was that in that moment? Did you have a thought about it, or your natural reaction was just that playful?
Well, I think that's what it was. Everything you thought you arranged this perspective to be, it actually was it's this sort of messy thing. Just be open, share it, and I think there's something resonant about that because of societal influence or self-limiting beliefs or whatever it is. And I see it as an invitation to that. We're talking about people's universal experience with it. That's what it invited me to do. That's what made my experience with your work interesting, is it just invited me into that. It's a fun game that we sometimes take way too serious.
Cool. Super cool.
I love the idea of self-friendship. This is an example of what is masterfully done in your work, where you take something like self-compassion that is it's been a cliche. I think it is important, but it loses its meaning. And you've reframed it to self-friendship. Where and when did you come up with this idea of self-friendship?
When I was first writing, I'm looking at the book. It's Party of One, Self-Friendship in Action is the subtitle. So after conceptualizing Planit Butter, just the name, and then playfully snowballing, it's a world made out of peanut butter. I want to write something that takes place on this world. Like, it really was that. As I did that, I was digging into myself of thinking, what do I know best? And what do I know best? What do I know best that I can share with the world? What do I know best that I can share with the world? Because I had just finished my first job was executive assistant to Fran Drescher. And after working with her, I had such an incredible experience of just so many different, talk about multidimensional. So the work really demanded my brains to such a beautiful max capacity that I love, which is what I've created for myself with Planit Butter, is just using every ounce of my brain. And after working with Fran, I was like, okay, I'm so excited to just dig into my own whatever that is. And that's when Planit Butter formulated. And so I was digging into I just knew the name Planit Butter resonated with me. And like I said, it snowballed, and I'm digging. I'm like, what do I know best? What do I know best? What do I know best? And I just kept, what do I know best? And what am I already doing? That was my method into informing Planit Butter. And it literally was just, you know yourself so well, girl. Like, that's what I know best. I just came up with the phrase self-friendship, because I'm like, I am best friends with myself. 100%. And that's what I want to share with the world to start. And so I just framed it as self-friendship. Business as usual on Planit Butter, digging into myself and bringing that externally. And it made it easy to refer to self-friendship, but it's easy to grasp. Now, as Planit Butter evolved, obviously it's not so easy to grasp, but it's easy to apply when you dig in. But that's how self-friendship came, it was like, this makes it easy to reference what I'm talking about. Because I'm not saying it's too long to say, be best friends with yourself. And it sounds corny. It sounds all these things, especially in the last bunch of years when that's become quite popular in various ways. So self-friendship makes it simple, cohesive, easy to infer the meaning, and also broad enough for me to be able to apply to all the other concepts that I've applied it to.
It makes sense. You begin to operationalize what that looks like, right? To be friends with yourself, to be comfortable in your own skin, to be able to travel and do things by yourself. It's I don't know. It's like one of those things that's like, it's so simple, but so profound in the same way.
So a party of one, I defined as having fun with yourself, for yourself, as yourself. while self-friendship is defined as the commitment to embracing, understanding, and enjoying ourselves. It's really the ability to leverage self-friendship and this party of one, quote unquote, framing into your relational aspects as well. So that's where the alignment comes in, right?
Yeah.
So it's not only I'm comfortable on my own, it's I'm so comfortable with myself that even with other people, I'm still with myself first and foremost. So
Yeah.
it's that, and that's the biggest thing, because especially with the popularity of the topics these days of whether it's self-compassion or self-friendship or what have you,
Mhm.
or just comfort being alone or going to dinner by yourself, like all these things that people, whatever. While that's super important, I think not even more important, equally important is being so grounded in yourself with others.
Yeah.
Holding your independence, holding your individuality, holding your boundaries, respecting those boundaries. So that's where the ideal self becomes more and more informed, because that's where the iNTUCENTRiC way really comes to evolve, is because you're integrating and immersing with others while first and foremost having that self-friendship with other. So it's like that's like a pinnacle, because that's everything, is the grounded in yourself while with others.
Well, yeah, I hear you saying it's sort of the overlap between those components, right? You have this self-friendship, you have these boundaries, which are protecting your self-friendship, right? And then you have alignment, which is I'm going to maintain the self-friendship and the boundaries with, aligning with other people. And that's
Totally.
where I think, the recipe for that is sort of, it seems like the outcome would be just to have, I don't know. What do you think the outcome would be? Is it more connectedness, better more authentic connectedness? I don't know.
I love that you asked, because the phrasing that I use is that the result is in the best interest of all. The result is in the best interest of all, because it's messy. It's all messy. Everything about this is messy. It's not easy. What I say is it's not easy, but we can choose to make it fun. And I say that because it's messy, but it is in the best interest of all. Prioritizing ourselves, aligning with who's in our best interest, is ultimately in the best interest of all.
Yeah, I love that too, because that's an answer it doesn't allow your mind to rest. Yeah, the outcome is it's in the best interest of all. And you're like, but it forces people to engage with it. I eventually got there. Just like you said, you have to think.
And that's the thing with humans, though, if I may. It's like, we want this outcome. We want this answer. What's the answer? What's the answer? And I'm like, that's the unhealthy ego. If being iNTUCENTRiC is what I say is the healthy ego, because it's that equal parts understanding of, yes, I'm human. Yes, I have this sense of self. And I have this amazing magical intuition that connects me to the universe at large. What I will simply and playfully call the uni, as a reminder of oneness, because uni means one, right? So I say that to remind us of oneness beyond humanity. So it's not just humans we think it's like we're everything. It's like we're not, but our sense of self allows us to be everything that we need to be. It's for us, but it's not about us. It is in the best interest of all.
See, even there, I'm like, oh, it's for us. It's not about us. I'll have to think more about that later.
Totally. Please do.
I think too, this shows up in what is because we have this frame that we sort of, I don't know where it comes from, maybe our biology or something, that we're going to get to a place and we're just going to hang out there. Like once we hit X goal or whatever. And your work, really, one of the things it does is we're always moving towards another change. We're always changing. It just recognizes that, right? And I think that's what I thought of when you said the outcome is the best case scenario for everyone, or the best. Actually, I made it too much of a thing there, right? It's best for everyone. I think that points to sort of it's more real than our sort of structures and the way we think about life are, right, Jordan? A couple questions about you and how this philosophy shows up in your life. So, when you think about planning, we talked about how things are messy, and how do you personally balance structure with surrender, planning without sort of over controlling? And how does the philosophy sort of influence that?
Sure. Great question. Thanks, Ryan. So the word that popped into my head was intention. I would say that for me personally, I know that Planit Butter is essentially my North Star. Everything is always rooted in Planit Butter's the direction. And what does that mean? So with structure, it's like Planit Butter kind of becomes my structure. That's my well-being is Planit Butter. And the physical execution of different things of Planit Butter become the structure. So my intentions vary by whatever is prominent at the time. For example, weekly, my podcast, right? So, which I kind of stopped calling it a podcast. It's more of, I just say show, because the on-camera element just became it kind of dominated it. So I'm like, it's not really a podcast at that point. But so that being every Thursday, I'm like, I know every Thursday, by Thursday, I'm recording that show and editing and releasing and promoting and all the things that come with it, right? So the intention is, I'll literally just, and I hope this is answering your question, but I'll share to myself and in connection to, in honoring what is the connect. Sorry, it's like, I just want to make sure I'm communicating this in a way that can land, hopefully. When I say I'm communicating with the universe, it's like this, it's that groundedness of knowing I'm human on Earth, and Earth is part of this much larger something or other that we don't know. Okay. So it's not some like spiritual, religious, anything of that like. It's like just grounded. I'm here, and there's so much more that we don't know about beyond this Earth, period. So I'll be like, okay, Uni, magic. What's the show this week? And it always comes to me. So the intention is, I know I have a show. That's the priority. My boundaries and respecting my boundaries is respecting Planit Butter and respecting that I've committed myself to this show being released. And that's my outcome. That's my boundary. Is I clarifying and respecting my boundaries is I feel my best when I record and execute on this show. And deferring to the universe, elements that are outside of my control is timing, but understanding that my boundary is Thursday. So somehow, that's the magic that we don't know about. The universe literally always sends me the thought, idea, the person, whether it's a guest or it's a viewer emailing me something very significant that I'm like, wow, I want to answer this one on the show. Or it's something that I want to elaborate on. Consistently for 107 episodes, the universe will send me, or I will receive through my little mind, either an idea or a person for the show that week. So it's this balance of the structure is Thursday. Planit Butter knows that, like, that's it. The boundaries are executing that feels best to me, which keeps me in alignment. And the intuition is trusting the universe to play its part while I continue to play my part. So whether it's, I feel a pull to go to an art gallery today, and then I go to the art gallery and I meet an artist who ends up being my guest on the show, there it is. That's the best way I could elaborate on balancing the structure and, what structure and alignment was it?
Yeah, it was
Structure
with
and
surrender. With surrender.
So the surrender. Yeah. So then the structure is really boundaries, while the surrender is trust, that reference of, hey, universe, tell me what's up, essentially. And it's knowing that I've clarified my boundaries, so the surrender can happen because I'm clear, solid, and I'm holding true to my boundaries. So the surrender is, so my self-talk is, there's nothing to figure out. Uni's got it is a phrase that I use, and I expand on it in the book as well. And just really grounding the surrender. I feel like to start with practicing surrendering, because people are like, how do you do that? And I feel like in yoga and all these practices, it's just like, let go. And people are like, what the fuck does that mean? I like to offer the tools of a phrase like Uni's got it, because it's permission to our mind and body that there are other things at play, regardless of your outlook on life. It's a fact. We're on Earth. That's part of something much larger. And there are other things involved, and we're not entirely in control. So the surrender, to practice surrender, it's just grounding in something as simple as Uni's got it. I know my boundaries. Uni's got it. And the boundaries are the structure again.
So as I was listening to you, so thank you for sharing that and sort of thinking it through here. No, I thought, and one of the things that strikes me is that, and you mentioned like yoga, and I might think of breath work or meditation. I think those are tools that give people access to, to sort of shaking up their perspectives. But I think I'm seeing now that your work sort of points to, you can just also live in your own world, in your own dimensionality. I don't know if that's a word. but I think that
Totally.
makes sense, right? And
Yeah.
that's another access point there, right? And it's actually a very a unique access point as opposed to using something that's like formulaic, like yoga, for example. Anyway, just that was a passing thought I wanted to share with you. So,
I appreciate you sharing that.
so a couple questions about your career that's led up to this point. And you mentioned you've worked with some well-known and funny people, Fran Drescher and Christina Hutchinson, to name a few. How has that shaped your journey?
Sure. I mean, significantly, right? I mean, everything is always shaping us. The three core contributions that I've made outside of Planit Butter would be working with Fran, working with Christina, and I pioneered backpack healthcare's bibliotherapy. So I developed and designed and wrote and edited their first series of children's therapy books and self-help app. And they found me after my first book with Planit Butter. So those are my three significant contributions. Again, Planit Butter, North Star. Fran was the only one prior to Planit Butter. And with Fran, I was 22 and I just moved to LA. Actually, I'll give you a little bit of, this is cool. I'll give you a little bit of a story because this is me embodying when I say I've been like this, I mean it.
Yeah.
Oh, and like my parents will vouch. So thankfully I graduated college. I traveled a little bit and through Europe. And then I was in New York for a couple of months before I woke up one day and felt that little ping. My intuition was like, go to California. So I did. And at the time, my parents were like, why? What? Kind of like, huh? There's nothing there. Like, you don't have a job, you don't have friends, you don't have like all the things, right? You know, business as usual I said business as usual before. Just anybody moving anywhere can understand that. I move, but what I did since I was fresh out of college, it's like, you need a job and you have nothing to say for yourself except that you graduated, which is good, but figure it out. So my parents, they gave me support for 2 weeks that was their boundary, 2 weeks. And in my fashion of let's hit the ground running, is I lined up a bunch of interviews, like 16 interviews for myself for just when I got there to California, which I booked within like 3 weeks of waking up that day. And 3 weeks now would be like a lifetime. Now I wake up one day and I go that night. So I booked 16 interviews. I get there, I land, I'm on the ground, and then I'm like, okay, let's review these interviews. I call and I cancel, I canceled all but 4 or 3. All but 3, because I'm like, let's just simplify this. I went to all 3. I think I was offered all 3. It was something like, I was like, yeah, okay. My personality, I'm like, of course I'm going to get these jobs. That's my attitude. Yeah. And that's what I want everybody's attitude to be. So I get those 3. I'm like, but none of them felt right. My intuition was like, yeah. And they were like some marketing, sales, whatever in California, in LA. But something didn't feel right. And my parents were all excited though that I figured it out so quickly, quote unquote, figured it out. And I'm like, nah, that's not it. And then they were like, what the fuck are you doing? You have 1 week to figure it out now. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And so I'm like still digging. I was like, what do I love? Food. So I remember even vividly like picking up a peanut butter jar in a store and being like, where's this one based? And just feeling into everything, reaching out, going to farmers markets, introducing myself because I'm like, I love food and I like to be around food. And I don't know, I was even looking at buying a food truck, all these things. Anyway, like coming up on the 1 week mark or that 2nd week mark, I had a family friend who I didn't know when I got there. She was hosting me for those first 2 weeks. And I kind of butchered the story, but I'm realizing that first night that I landed, after canceling those interviews, she brought me to an event that Fran was speaking at. So I met Fran my first night. Wow. Kind of just, I thought nothing of it. I just met Fran,
Yeah.
Not that she's not great, but I've never really cared. Like, I'm just like, nice to meet you. Okay. So I met Fran my first night. And then after those 2 weeks saying no to those jobs, whatever, coming up in the next week, Brenda Cooper, who I was staying with, she texted me one day and was like, so it was funny. She texted me to come to her room, and I didn't see the text, but I had just intuitively felt to like go say hi to Brenda. So it was weird. I went to go say hi to her and she goes, oh, did you see my text? And I said, no. And she goes, I just texted you to come chat. And I was like, oh, well, I'm here. Hi. And she says, I was thinking Fran needs a new assistant. Would that be something that you're interested in? And I said, well, what does that really mean? Because of course, Fran's a celebrity. So assistant can range from making coffee to negotiating and producing photo shoots and podcasts and all these things. So I was like, what does it mean? Because me and my confident 22-year-old self was like, I only want something that I want my brain to be used. Otherwise, I don't need to get you coffee if my brain's not also going to be used. Cause I wasn't somebody that I'm like, I'm going to be in entertainment. Like, I don't care. I'm going to be myself. And I want my brain to be put to work. And I met Fran. My brain was absolutely put to work. And so just in the spirit of me being the way that I've always been, it's that trusting. A phrase that I say is trust your no so your yes can find you. So remember, 22 years old, flew across the country, canceled a bunch of interviews, took 3 of them, got offered 3, said no to 3 on a 2-week timeline. And then still 1 week later ended up working with a wonderful celebrity who exposed me to an outrageous amount of incredible work, from producing photo shoots to negotiating contracts to managing homes to being in charge of a team of people at 22 years old. When I could have just said yes because it came easy and I was on this quote unquote 2-week timeline of like linear BS of, oh, you're fresh out of college, take what you can get. And I'm like, fuck that. Part of my language again. It's like, those didn't feel right to me. I'm not settling for these little positions that don't feel, and I say little because to me it felt like this is not using my brain. This is not expanding me. This is not challenging me. I knew I was going to get those jobs. Like, I don't want a job that I know I'm going to get. I want a job that I know is going to challenge me. And so that came through, and I ended up working with Fran, and I had all this amazing exposure to different things. So that's me embodying these things, having not conceptualized them yet. To put it simply, I don't even know if so that talk about shaping me is that informed such a huge amount of trust in myself. And then working with Fran, obviously ingrained that much more capacity of actualizing that my multidimensionality, because the range of work that I did with Fran, because as an executive assistant, I was 22 and I was negotiating and I was producing these shoots and I was styling and I was on set being like Fran's producer, meeting with all the executives and doing all of the things, and her scheduling and her meetings. And sometimes making coffee, of course, but it's like, I'm fine with doing the bitch work if I'm also using my brain. At 22, I was fine with that. So she did, and I did. And that totally informed me because I felt like I was learning. Honestly, I'm like, I'm having a front row seat to a very independent, powerful, intelligent woman who is entirely creative and equipped in this world. And I get to work with her and have the exposure to all that she's involved in and use all of my capacity and then leverage that to further inform what I've built for myself truly. And then everything else, same thing. Backpack was Planit Butter because of my first book. I wrote their books. They saw I built this world, and then I built them a world, and then came up with their characters and did all the things. And then same with Christina, was writing her comedy with her and helping her structure and organize book proposals and do research and discussing all of these things. So everything has shaped and is like a direct expression, indirectly, but directly forming and sculpting me to be able to most effectively build Planit Butter, for sure. For a very long-winded answer, but
no. Thank you for sharing that story. And I think it's shown up in a bunch of different ways, but essentially what prompted my work in this podcast was I'm like, okay, I thought I knew what success was, yada, so I just want to talk to people about what it is. And one of the things that shows up in some of the most successful people, CEOs, creatives, is that there's this sort of undeniable, like sometimes, and it sounds like in your case, even though you named it, it's been so present in your life that it's this idea of self-trust. Some people, now I was thinking about your story, some people would have gone in there and been like, well, my 2 weeks is used up. I didn't want any of these jobs. I'm going to go home. But you didn't do that. Some people would have
heard of me.
And see, you trusted that something was going to happen, and I think that what that highlights, I think, is that self-trust is the point. It's not it's not the bridge, right? Is the point. I kind of connected that with you. Said you're like, no matter what I do, I don't care if I'm a celebrity or what. Planit Butter is what I do. It's what I am. It's what I create. And so I think that story is it's a beautiful exploration of and explanation and example of self-trust. There just was an undying self-trust there that you're like, well, this is going to happen. And maybe there's maybe you didn't even hear them. People saying to you, hey, mom and dad, are you coming back home? You're running out of time here. What's going on?
Yeah.
But it's going to work out. It'll be fine.
Totally. And that's always, the thing is too, with everybody, like it's society in general, I feel like another word that's unfortunate, it's overused is abundance, but abundance is really the state of being. Abundance is just because it's like the flow. It's one thing comes, one thing goes. That's why part of the trust your no so your yes can find you that I say it's trusting because you've respected your boundaries. And so it's knowing that like there's no dead end. The human mind just grips on, until you do die, but even that you're, transitioning to whatever is out there. But that's a belief of whoever, whatever, do your thing. But abundance, it's overused, but if we could ground it in this understanding of perhaps forward motion and a perpetual flow. So, cause it's time, right? Like time is constantly moving and humans have labeled and constructed time to a clock and weeks and months and all these things. But if we can temporarily go beneath and beyond and above, outside of those time constructs and understand that maybe abundance is equivalent to time, is equivalent to perpetually now, perpetually moving, perpetually coming, perpetually going, then when we trust our no, when we trust ourselves, it is knowing that there's just always more coming. And the fact that you said no to something that wasn't right for you, then you're signaling, oh, she doesn't want that. Send her something else. Like, send her something else. So it's like, and everything is interconnected, right? We need to remember that too. So we very easily get narrow-minded, especially when things like jobs, like what I was, I needed to make money. I only had 2 weeks of support. I spent all my money on my travels over the summer prior.
Yeah.
Fresh out of college. So it's understanding like all these other factors were at play, which is why when I said I butchered the story, it's because like I met Fran that first night, but I didn't think about it. But that's one of those other factors at play is like, there was a little seed planted that I didn't even know because I hadn't been as conscious as I am now, having conceptualized. And now my awareness is like next level of like my hyper analysis of myself. Like I said, I study myself. So having to at that age, not conceptualize this yet, but embodying it, it's like that seed was planted, which I want to highlight for everybody because like when we are more mindful, we can maybe recognize those seeds that are planted. So when we do encounter something that is not what we want, we can trust saying no to it because we know it's not what we want. And other things are perpetually coming and moving around us that are interconnected that we're not entirely aware of, but might have already been planted. And we just need to let it grow in whatever way it's growing. Like I met Fran's assistant that night. Who knew she was going to stop working with her to like, but the seed was there. It was on my radar and I didn't know it. That kind of thing. So my trust in myself didn't have to do with, oh, I met Fran. Maybe she'll need an assistant. Like I didn't know. And I didn't even want to be a celebrity assistant. Like I don't care. But it is equal parts trusting ourselves and understanding that the abundant, the flow, the time of our lives is ever presently moving. And I just really want to drive that home that there are that there are so many other pieces at play at all times that our no is just informing what we're welcoming in rather than limiting ourselves. Because I think there's more of a scarcity mindset in society that I'm really working to shift. Yeah. And that's what I'll say there. I'll stop.
No, it's beautiful and point taken there too. Number one, that's one thing I totally agree with. I was just talking to a friend and they're like, we were talking politically and I agree. There's different political arguments for the way society has organized itself in financial realms. At the end of the day, the problem is people live from a scarcity place and that's what causes all that. It's just to drive home the point. This has just been such a fascinating conversation. I want to just point out a word that it's funny. As I was going through your material, fascinated by the words you had created, I was like, oh, that must already be a word. I'm going to look it up. And I couldn't find it anywhere. And that is presitude. What does presitude mean?
Presitude is being present through thankfulness. So we can, I love that you thought that was a word. That's the thing with the words that I make up, because it's rooted in this philosophy. Everything is, it has such intention of it. It's meant to stretch your mind, but make sense for your life to actually benefit you. Not only me making stuff up, there's really intent there. So present through thankfulness, being present through thankfulness, that's the definition. And it's a practice for helping ourselves move in the direction that we want to move by practicing being grateful. When we practice being grateful in our moment to moment surroundings and experience, we bring ourselves more and more into the present moment, which is perpetually moving us forward. And when we do that with a mental state of gratitude, we are increasing our frequency, meaning like your vibe is just higher, like you feel good. And feeling good is the only way forward into informing that ideal self. Because when you feel good, you can think more clearly, you have more positive interactions, you attract more positive things, all the things that you already know that I don't need to tell you. But presitude is my word for hopefully reminding you of that.
I love that. I love that. That's a beautiful place to end. And as I experience presitude for this conversation here today.
Beautiful.
Well, where can people connect with you online, find your book, etc.?
Sure. Everything is on planitbutter.com, and you can just play around there and see where you end up.
There's lots to play with there. I always like to end all my episodes with a question that sounds something like, what didn't I ask you that I should have? But there's a lot of questions I didn't get to. So I might just flip it around and say, where is your iNTUCENTRiCity leading you at this very moment?
I am really grateful for this conversation. Thank you, Ryan. I really appreciate the way you engaged with my work and prepared. I really comes through, and I appreciate you being honest about where you got stuck on the subtitle. Like, that's really cool to hear, and just so many things. But so where is it leading me beyond this conversation? I mean, honestly, I'm going to go do a little breath play, which that's what I call, I don't call breath work. I'm going to go do some breath play and then probably go work out. That's the truth of where it's leading me directly.
Awesome conversation. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best in the future. Good luck with everything that you're working on.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, Ryan. I really do. Yeah.
If you made it to the end of this episode, you probably felt it. Not in your head, felt it in your chest, in your gut, in that quiet place where your intuition lives before you rush to explain it. Jordan did not come here to be understood. She came here to wake something up. Because Planit Butter is not a brand you decode. It's a doorway. And once you walk through it, you can't unsee the real question. If she can name her world, build it, give it color, give it language, give it philosophy, give it a mascot, and then invite you to visit, what world have you been living in without ever naming it? That's what I'm sitting with. I said it in the conversation, and I mean it now even more. I'm still in deliberation. I don't know what my world is called yet. But I do know this. I'm not letting the question go, because the moment you start asking, what is my world made of? You stop outsourcing your life to default settings. You stop living someone else's definitions. You stop making your creativity wait until permission arrives. And you start practicing something closer to self-trust. And you start building from the inside out. So here's my ask. If you have a suggestion for what my world might be called, or better yet, what your world might be called, send it to me. Comment it, message it, however you want to share it. Make it playful, make it weird, make it honest, make it yours, because the name isn't something you think your way into. Maybe it's something you discover by letting the question work on you. If you'd like to get updates when the next episode comes out, visit ryanwattslifecoaching.com/podcast. Until next time, keep building the world that only you can build.